So we're here today for another episode of Articulations with Steve Prince and Michael Gibson. This show has been several years in the making because Steve's schedule is beyond insane. So I want to thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
A couple of quick questions.
All right.
Let y'all talk.
All right.
Absolutely.
Steve, obviously both of you can do any medium you want.
Mm-hmm.
But you both chosen one medium as your primary medium. So for Steve, it's linoleum cuts. For Michael, it's all the different densities of graphite.
Mm-hmm.
What made you decide that was your primary focus?
I'll go first.
No, go ahead. Start us off, please.
For me, my medium chose me. And I started drawing when I was very young. 4 or 5 years old, I started drawing. And I just fell in love with it. And I could never let it go. Because you grow up and you get trained in art. They say, oh, you should do painting. You should do painting. You should do oil painting. You should change. And I just could never let drawing go. And I found that the more I got into it, the more I loved it, and it just suited me. It's the medium that I feel most comfortable expressing myself in. And so I just held on. I never left.
Steve, wild Emily.
I'm very similar to Michael in that at the heart of what I do is drawing. And so my first love has always been drawing. People always ask me, like, what medium do you enjoy doing the most? And so I love, pen to paper, pencil to paper. I love the physicality of the mark making. Linoleum came later. I never did printmaking until I got to college. And I went to Xavier University of Louisiana. And so it was in my sophomore year that I took a printmaking class. And I got introduced to this material, this linoleum.
Yeah.
And I had a little small piece. It's like 6 by 9 inches, my very first block that I carved. And I made an image of Billie Holiday. And she has a head rearing back, and she has a magnolia in her hair, and her mouth is open. And I painstakingly cut these cross-contoured marks to display the idea of the volume. So when you see my prints, you see these marks that go across the figure. I'm trying to define, what is the arm, or what is the energy of the figure, or what is the foreshortening, scale shift of the body, all that kind of stuff I'm trying to pull upon. And so I made that carving, put ink on it, put paper on top, ran it through a press, and it was really spiritual, magical moment.
Yes.
So when I pulled that paper back, it took my breath away. I said, and then my professor was in the back. He was like smiling because he saw that look in my eyes, and he said, "You can do it again." I said, "You can do it again."
Yeah.
And then there's a beautiful intersection. I've said to some folks I was talking to earlier is that I was born and raised in New Orleans Catholic, and so I went from Catholic elementary school, which was St. Raphael. Then I went to Redeemer for high school, and then I went to Xavier University, which is the only Black Catholic university in the Western Hemisphere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's really critical to my output. And then I was an altar boy for several years as well.
Mm.
And then I had aspirations of becoming a priest as well.
Mm-hmm.
Only reason why I didn't choose to become a priest is because I knew down the line I wanted to get married and I wanted to have children. And so I knew that the priest walk did not walk that walk.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, that's the main thing that pushed me away from it. But fast forward, I become a lay minister. So I've actually ministered in many different types of churches.
Man, we're so much alike.
But then here's the key intersection why I brought that up is because of a guy by the name of Martin Luther. Not Martin Luther King Jr., mm-hmm. but Martin Luther from the 1500s.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote, of course, the thing is called the 95 Theses.
Mm-hmm.
And what did he use? He used the Gutenberg press to disseminate a message.
Mm-hmm.
That all that intersected in me. And I said, and not only I can make one, I can make multiples, and I have the ability to disseminate this message all over. Hence, when people see my title, I'm Director of Engagement, Distinguished Artist in Resident, but I'm an art evangelist. So I look at my work through the lens of spreading the message and spreading the gospel through my work. And
yeah.
So that's the knowledge.
Yeah. So do you even love the sound? I even love the sound of a pencil across.
Absolutely. You would not catch me without a sketchbook.
I love the sound.
Matter of fact, I had the boldness of saying this to a student, a class that I was teaching. Right. I told the students, and it slipped out of my mouth. And I said, I said, you'll never catch me without a sketchbook. I said, if you catch me without a sketchbook, we give you $10.
Yeah.
And the kids looked at me, and I knew it was like locked.
Yeah,
They're like,
yeah.
we heard that.
Okay, yeah, you about to
then-
come out of your pocket.
And I started doing my little dance. I said, well, okay. Now, if you come out there and you ask me for my sketchbook and you don't have yours, you got to give me $10. That's how I'm protecting myself.
Yeah.
So I make sure that I always have a sketchbook with me. I do all the time, but I said, this is going to be that one day I'm not going to have one. And they're going to come out the woodworks.
Yeah.
You got your sketchbook?
Yeah.
So I literally, you do not catch me without it. And so I'm always drawing. So like I said, I go back to what Michael said, and you said 4 or 5 years old. I got a trauma story with 5 years old. I'm 5 years old, growing up in New Orleans in a shotgun house. It was a shotgun duplex. And those that don't know where the shotgun house is every door is lined up all the way through the back, and you shoot a gun straight through it. So my dad was a big stickler for reading. So he had like 3 or 4 sets of encyclopedias on the shelf. And I went over there and grabbed the letter M off of there, sat down on the floor, hardwood floors, and I'm flipping through the book, looking at the pictures, not reading, but I am reading the images. And I saw this image of Michelangelo's image of Sybil from the Sistine Chapel. And as a 5-year-older, it took my breath away. It took my breath away so much that I had that book open and I carefully grabbed it on the edge. I tore it out.
Oh, bro.
In my mind, I released it from its earthly grave.
Right. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Yeah.
It was
liberating.
It was trapped. I was
Yeah,
liberating
you're
this thing. I bought
Yep.
it free.
Mhm.
So I got this book, I got the page out and I got myself a piece of white paper. We call it typing paper. I got a piece of typing paper and I got myself a pencil and I got on my belly and I'm drawing it over my shoulder. A voice said, "Oh, Steve, why?
Yeah.
You tore out the encyclopedia." What did 5-year-old Steve say? Somebody help me. Give me that voice.
Anybody else?
No. I couldn't blame it on my other siblings.
No.
I just didn't do it.
Yeah.
Just flat out.
Yeah.
That's what I say. Exact words. You got me
Yeah,
now. You got me now. No, I didn't. Yes, she did. She went right through her house to tell my mom. I was able to produce tears by following her. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't read it. My mom tore my hind parts up.
Yeah.
All right. And we didn't get spankings. We got whoopings.
Yeah.
Let's define that. Let's be clear with the definition. So I got my.
Yep. Whatever your hand.
We got the belt. So anyway,
You got the belt.
got the belt.
You didn't get the switch?
No switch.
Oh, you lucky.
No. So anyway, I'm coming to the house. Man, I get back there. My mom made me put that picture back in the book, but it reminded me, every time I went back home, is I had that one page I couldn't get all the way back in the encyclopedia because the binding is so tight. And I taped it in with Scotch tape. And every time as I grew, the years grew, I would always look in the study and look at that book. And then fast forward, from that kindergarten age Steve to the 8th grade. And I'm sitting in a class of 24 students, just like this room. I'm in the middle, drawing in my little book. And then the teacher said, does anybody can help me make some drawings for a bulletin board? Do you know the entire class said, Steve? Everybody.
So tell me something. When was the first time you, as a child, realized this is what I'm going to be?
I was 5.
Same with me. When I was
5.
I wanted to be a pilot first.
Mm-hmm.
Remember back in the days, you could I remember when first time I was on the remember the Concorde?
Yeah.
My parents took me on the Concorde and they'd take you up into the they take you back then, British Airways. I'm from Canada. It's British Airways. They take you up into the cockpit and everything, and they let you sit in the cockpit and they pin the thing on you, and you were like, wow. I wanted to be a pilot, and then ever since then, I wanted to be an artist.
No.
5 years old.
When I got to kindergarten, they said, hey, stand up and tell us what your name is and what you want to be when you grow up.
So it's always been an artist, right?
Always. I stood up. My name is Steve Prince, and I'm going to be like Michelangelo.
Yep. Artist. Yeah, I want to be an artist.
Artists are born, they're not made.
Mm-hmm.
My other question is, what mediums have you not done that you would like to try?
One of the first ones I've not done glass work. I would love to try glass.
Wow.
That's something I have not done. And in particular, I would love to do glass work or glass sculptural works, but I'd love to do stained glass. I've never done a stained glass piece.
Yeah. What I've not tried, man, I've tried a lot of stuff.
You got to let us see most of it, but
No, but it's that. But you got to understand, me stretching myself in other mediums, that's for me. That's fun, right? I don't know if I would really sell it. You know what I mean? That's for fun.
You never dabbled in that. You're like,
That's what I'm trying to think.
to just play with.
That's what I'm trying to think. Maybe oils. I mean, I've dabbled in oils, but I'd like to like get into it more. Oils, chalk pastel would be cool.
I'm surprised that you haven't done it.
I mean, I played with it, but not like,
Yeah, I'm surprised.
you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I haven't really devoted some time to it.
Yeah.
What else? Sculpture, maybe.
Mhm.
In
Yeah.
bronze?
Sculpture. Wood. I would start with wood, and then graduate and try to go to like do casting and stuff like that.
Mhm. No, I've done a little bit of a bunch of different medium.
Yeah.
But I have a slightly different approach to it. I look at the different mediums as if a linguist looks at languages.
Okay.
So
yeah.
depending on what that thing is calling for, then I will adapt to it.
Right.
You know, so I've sold everything that I've tried. I've sold something in it.
Really?
Yeah.
I just look at it as
recently did
playtime.
I just recently did a bronze statue of a Sankofa,
Oh yeah.
and I'm the first African American in the history of William and Mary
To do.
in its 330 years to do a major sculpture on this campus. And so I made a 10-foot tall a cast bronze piece that I did in 14 pieces, and we welded it all back together, and I
Cool.
have it on top of a stainless steel base.
Cool.
It's cut out of letters and filigree. I just painted a mural that's 16 feet by 70 feet long. I mean, even in my play stuff, I've sold those things. Like, for example, like years ago, I was teaching kids how to do crayon etching.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, that's
Right,
right. You
yeah,
draw
yeah.
over heavy with the
Yeah.
crayon and cover with like a mixture, like a black mixture on top, and you scratch back through it. I stuck it up on the board, and the guy came to my class and said, "Yo, man, who made that?" Like, I did. I was like, demonstration piece. You selling it?
Oh really?
And then I was like, well,
If you want it, you can have it. Hey, have you ever tried Scratchboard?
I have. I sold that too.
Yeah.
Well, see, I'm a lot of artists I know will make stuff and they feel like super connected to it, and they want some piece they don't want to part with. I let it all go. I'm serious. I do. I have an attachment to it because I made it, but I want it to go out. I want people to have it.
Most of my stuff I let go, but some of the experimental stuff I keep.
Yeah.
It's just for play.
I keep, no,
Yeah.
I take it. There's some things I keep, but I'm talking about if I finish the piece
If it's finished and you sign it,
and I sign it and somebody
Yes.
wants it,
Yeah.
it's gone.
Yeah.
Yes, and Michael's only got one piece of his hanging in his house.
Yeah. Why do I want my own work hanging in my house? I have his work hanging in my house. I have Paul. I have Charlie. I have works that inspire me hanging at my house.
I'm very similar in that regard.
Yeah.
I have the only reason why I have some pieces on the wall that are mine is because my wife put them up.
Yes. The same thing. Same thing.
Not because
the one
of me.
piece
I've
of mine.
never worked
Yeah.
on the wall.
The one piece of mine is because I gave that piece to my wife when we were dating.
Mhm.
I say, here, babe, you have this. That's the one that's up.
So since we're talking about inspiration, you're approaching linoleum, you're approaching a piece of paper. What do you draw from? What's your inspiration?
Oh, you take this one first.
Um,
Attack.
Oh, it's varied, but I would say first and foremost, when I make artwork, I keenly understand that I'm the recipient of the first fruit of whatever I create. That's first and foremost. So what I make pleases me first. And I'm a believer in that what I make, it pleases me. I believe it's going to please others
Mm-hmm.
because we're not in this world in a vacuum and we have similar experiences. Now, I'm a kid who grew up in the Deep South in New Orleans as a Black man in the 90s and affected by hip hop and all these kind of things that made and shaped me. There's a whole bunch of other people that fit that same demographic.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, when I'm making this stuff, then people look at my work and say, oh, it kind of reminds me of Good Times. Yeah, because why? I was influenced by Good Times.
Mm-hmm.
I was influenced by Ernie Barnes and the way he was elongating the figures and the exaggeration of the form. But I was also influenced by El Greco. I was also influenced by Van Gogh, textures and things. I'm pulling stuff from all kinds of artists, all different time periods. All that stuff influences the work from the stylistic creation or the stylistic makeup. But as far as content wise, what has inspired me over and over again is the work that speaks about our human condition, not just from a social commentary standpoint, but from the standpoint of, can I put stuff in the artwork that speaks to the history, but at the same time, can it speak to our spiritual center? At the same time, could it actually begin to envision a world of who we could be?
Mm-hmm.
And that is part of the visionary nature of the artist, is that the artist has the ability to not only help us to remember, but the artist has the ability to take us to places where the imagination can pull us. And so we can see into the future. And that goes into the importance of us as artists, as not only recorders of time, but we also help us to show us the possibilities, the unlimited possibilities of who we could be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's the vision.
You sit in your studio, where does it come from?
Well, creativity comes from God. That's where it comes from, you know, the greatest creator. So that's where it comes from. But my focus is primarily drawing the stuff about the human being that you cannot see. I think that's the essence of the human being, the spirit of the person, the soul of the person. That's what I'm trying to draw. I'm trying to draw the atmosphere. I'm trying to draw, you know, how do you draw the spirit of the human being? How can I draw that, right? How can I draw someone who feels reverent? What does that look like? How can I draw someone's personality, an aspect of their personality? You know, the soul is the part where your personality is, your will. Like, how can I take those concepts that are things that we only experience, and how can I imbue them into the work? That's what I'm really interested in personally. It's trying to figure out how to display that in different situations. That's number one. Then number two, I tap into my own personal experiences, right? And it's storytelling. So I think about lessons that I learned from my grandparents and different experiences that I've had, and I put it into the work. And all of that comes out in what I do.
For a long time, I mean, obviously, most of your work is just pencil.
Mm-hmm.
Then you started doing, you know, a little bit of spot color,
Mm-hmm.
and that evolved into the flowers.
Mm-hmm.
What brought them about?
Well, first of all, I never wanted to do flowers. My mom made me do flowers. It's like, when are you going to draw something? My mom's little, you know, Jamaican woman. I said, when are you going to draw something for me? We want flowers. Mom, I don't really do flowers. And she just kept after. And I said, well, it's my mom. I got to do flowers. So I started doing flowers for my mom, as you know. And then how the colored stuff came about is, as an artist, you're always trying to stretch yourself. You're always trying to stretch yourself, always trying to do things, do something new, try something new. And so I started doing flowers for my mom. So I took that, right? And I said, okay, well, let me see how I can remix that and incorporate color. And let me see how I can use color as another way in which I can highlight my black and white work and make it pop more and give it a little bit more vibrancy and also give it some more meaning. So that's how I started to do the flowers as like a motif and as like a, you know, we do need to give each other our flowers. Flowers are a tremendous symbol. And so I felt like, yeah, let me try that. You know, and I have little symbols, I have crowns, I have different symbols that I use over and over again as a motif to communicate, you know, things to the viewer.
See, when I wrote about you, I said, when I look at your work, I feel like I have to keep unwrapping it to get to the meaning of it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and keep finding more and more and more elements.
Mm-hmm.
Even your simpler pieces, you know, your smaller pieces, just there's always some kind of message.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about that.
Absolutely. It goes into this idea of I do a thing which is like a polynarrative. And so it's when I just layer, I use an archaic word, like the word like palimpsest, which is, you know, it's like graffiti. When someone puts graffiti down and puts it on top and on top and on top, and it keeps building up and it gets this rich density, which brings to mind that I do a thing called a dense pack, where I force a lot of different things into a compositional space where it forces you as a viewer to slow down your seeing. So I alter what is called a viewer time response, or in terms of how you engage your work. But then I'm thinking about multiple narratives at the same time in terms of that. If I'm thinking about the past, I'm also thinking about the present, but I'm also in the future at the same time. Give an example, like the piece back behind you, a piece called Rosa Sparks.
This one here?
No, the big one on the floor.
Oh, the book. Okay, yeah.
And so I'll just talk about it. In Rosa Sparks, of course, is in honor of Rosa Parks.
Mhm.
Of course, it was a purposeful misspelling of the word, but it was also to think about her life as a Sparks. And if you look at her, if you read Rosa Parks' body in the composition, I mean, look how she's sitting there. All right. Now, imagine you're in an argument with somebody, and I'm standing like this, listen to you. I'm not listening. I'm waiting for you to finish because I'm about to tell you about yourself.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
That's her posture.
Yeah.
All right. So any psychologists know how this woman is being read. They say this one is not moving. If you look even closer, you'll notice that the seat below her is actually buckled. I bent it. I curved it. She's squatting. All right. And so we know what she did in 1955, and as she's sitting there. But if you look closely at her body, you begin to see and look at her feet. Some people say, oh, those hooves or this blah, blah. There's metal on her feet. She has a metal breastplate. And she has like a halo about her head. All right. And those elements. And if you notice, there's a little shield on her body and it has the letters AOG on it. And then now the interrogation is, again, I'm running you down a stream of consciousness to think about. Now, you think about the fact that she has these elements that are metal on her body. Now it goes to the book of Ephesians in chapter 6, where Paul says, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and things in high places, call upon his followers and believers to put on the whole armor of God. That's what was on her, protecting her as she sat down on that bus that fateful day in 1955. And then she gets arrested in that moment. And that's why the bus driver is trying to tell her to give her a seat. Now, I flipped the history in the image on purpose. He was not telling her to give up that seat for a white woman. He was actually telling her to give her for a white man. Okay. But I put a woman on the right side in there because it didn't just speak of that moment. It was also speaking about the graces that were afforded to white women in contrast to black women. And so I'm playing upon another layer of history beyond just speaking the history of the moment. The other thing is, if you notice that the protest signs are penetrating the bus, and one of the signs is penetrating that says I am, which is typically associated with the I am a man signs. But I took off the a man part because, again, I wanted to put the male and female protests together, but I also centered it off of Moses, who went before God, and he said, what shall I say, shall I call you when I go before Pharaoh?
Right. I am.
Again, now it goes back to that spiritual center again. So then you see it penetrate, but then you got to think about what motivated Rosa Parks on that day not to get up out that seat. What happened historically earlier that year in 1955 that was her spark? I'm asking a question. Y'all, somebody knows. What happened? No, something happened earlier that year in 1955. It happened in Mississippi.
Emmett Till.
Thank you.
Yes, Emmett Till.
Emmett Till was brutally murdered, abducted from the house, murdered, shot, tied with an engine block with barbed wire, and thrown to the Tallahatchie River. They found his body 3 days later. There was no resurrection. It's like Christ was on the third day. He rose again from the dead. But now his body was exhumed and was sent back to Chicago. And his mother, Mamie Till, smelled the stench of her son's body a block away at the coroner's office. She got into the space, couldn't recognize her own child. And the only way she was able to recognize it because he had a ring on that was given to him by his father. And then she did something that was unprecedented. That something I don't know if I could have enough courage to do. She had an open casket for her child so the whole world could see what they did to her baby. You see, that's what motivated her not to get up, was what happened to this child. So there is a life after that continued to live inside of her. Even though that life was extinguished, it moved on to someone else. And now we're the carriers. And so in that image, you see there's a character in the back on the left with the ET on his hat. That's Emmett Till. But in the same time period, 1955, 10 years later, 1965, Malcolm X lost his life in Audubon Ballroom up in New York. If you move over to the left, that crown over there to the left, that's for King. He lost his life in 1968 in Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. Who was he fighting for? The sanitation workers. What signs were they holding? I am a man. You see the connections. I keep tying them back and forth over and over again. That's the poly narrative. Okay. And then if you look at the characters in the back of the bus, because the issues on the front of the bus is what we dealt with in the past, but we still have issues on the back of the bus that we must continue to deal with, that we must grapple with. Hands up, don't shoot. Michael Brown is back there. Trayvon is sitting with the hoodie on, holding in his hand the Arizona T. But then on his body is the letters KOOL for a pack of cigarettes. Because a guy by the name of Eric Garner was in New York selling cigarettes, selling singles for his family. But he said the exact same words that George Floyd said in 2020. I can't breathe. You see the connections, people.
Yeah.
I'm layering it. That's the poly narrative I'm trying to say. And I'm saying that's what we still have to deal with. That's the issues that are on the bus. And what are we going to do in the face of these injustices? The art is a spark. The art is helping us to remember. The art is putting these people upon and put them into the space and bringing about those who are invisible, those stories that continue to be hidden, and helping us not to forget, because how we keep doing these things over and over again, we're going to keep repeating them. But then I don't leave in a place of despair. So that's why I put the mother and child on the back of the bus, and the child has the peace sign, and it's open up to the book of Beatitudes. And that's, if you look at the book, you'll see I put the Beatitudes in there, and that's what she's reading to that child. She's teaching and training that child in the way to go. She's not teaching this child of hate. If we think about the four little girls that died in the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing, well, there was one other child there that's not talked about as much. Her name is Sarah Collins. Her sister, Addie Mae Collins, was decapitated, and she died in that bombing. Sarah Collins went from an A student to an F student because in September, just a month after the March on Washington, 1963, the church bombing took place in Birmingham, which is also nicknamed as Bombingham. And then fast forward in January, that little girl went back to school and went from an A student to an F student, and she had to deal with hearing a backfiring of a car or something that was always going to give her trauma. They didn't have no trauma stuff that she can go to. Like, we got our kids to go and get psychiatric help and things that we can send them to. They didn't have that back then, especially not from the little black child. They just threw them right back into the wolves again. It's go on and make it. You'll be all right. You know, so all that layering I'm talking about is all there. You know, the hope is embedded in the life of a child. And that's what I put into the composition. So can we be that spark? And that's what I'm calling upon. Rosa was a spark. Emmett Till was a spark. Malcolm X was a spark, on and on and on. What are we going to do with our lives? And we begin to think, well, dang, I'm just me. I'm just Steve. I'm just Michael. I'm just Eileen. I don't know what no, we all have a purpose. We all have a reason. We all intersect with each other. In this moment right now, as Michael so eloquently said, I'm grateful to be sitting here before you, because not everybody is afforded to have an audience to hear them speak.
Right.
So I'm grateful.
Very grateful.
It is a privilege and an honor to be able to sit here and to share with you our life's work.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I know Peter want to say completely answer this honest.
Okay.
One of the questions that comes up when people are looking at both your work: how long does it take?
Yeah. I never work on one thing at a time.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I'm on something, and then she's puts down, and that's one over here is talking to me. I'm gonna pick her up, and he's talking to me. I'm gonna put that. So it's constant rotation of work. There's all kinds of stuff being done, stuff in the sketchbook, ideas that I'm working on. Yeah. So there's always a rotation of things going on at all times. So anywhere between, sometimes I'll sit down and I'll just say, okay, whatever I get done in this sitting, that's what it's going to be. So there's that, all the way to maybe 60, 70 hours, 80 hours, 100 hours, depending on the size and the detail. But you could never ask me how long. I really don't know. I'm guessing, because I don't, as you can imagine, I don't click the timer. You know what I mean? I don't click the timer.
During COVID, when you were doing those sketches,
yes.
How much time did you allow yourself to do?
One sitting, whatever I can get done in one sitting. So 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever I can get done in 3 hours, whatever's done, that's it, it's done. Yeah. So that was more, for me, that's pushing me to be creative. When you restrict yourself as an artist and you say, well, I'm only going to do pencil, right? You're limiting yourself. You're limiting your palette. You're limiting your medium. And that restriction forces creativity, right? That restriction in time for me is like, okay, I can't spend all this time working on composition and painstakingly figuring out what I'm going to do. No, I just got to go. I got 3 hours. I just got to go. So that's just different things that I do to help keep those creative juices flowing, right? Sometimes I get a little stale. I'm like, okay, all right, I'm going to do a group of stuff and I'm going to put some tight restraints on me. And that way it kind of forces me to kind of get those creative juices.
That's one of my questions was how many did you go back into after that time?
Yeah, not very many. A few you get, it's like, oh, I think I could, I'm trying. So there was a few where I couldn't help myself.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it is what it is.
Well, I have a sense of, like, some of these people, a lot of these pieces in here, I'm looking at least 6 of them just in my vicinity that I did while I was in residence somewhere. Okay. So that was my restrictor. But the element that I'm not talking about is before I'm a planner. I'm not one who just shows up to residency and just make a piece.
Right.
I've already thought about it. When I hit the ground, I have from a tight sketch to maybe a loose sketch, but I always have had some thought. There's no place. And sometimes that thought, because of my life, my schedule is so busy, sometimes I know I got 6 hours it's going to take me to get there. That's working time. Right. So I've designed a lot of pieces on the plane,
right.
And pulling my little tray down and I'm drawing. And then I land and I already know what I'm doing, so, and then there's very, very, very rare time that I've changed away from that. All right. But, and so forth. Like when I made that piece, I pretty much had all of the composition worked out. I had in 2 or 3 different sketches that I pulled together. I'll tell you a quick story about the title, why it's called Rosa Sparks. And the story is going to sound unbelievable, but it's true. Please believe me. I'm not lying. So I was in South Bend, Indiana when I made this piece. I was at the University of Notre Dame. I was at this place called the Segura Art Center. It's no longer in existence. But I was there I made this piece in my 10-day residency.
All right. Wait a minute. I don't know if people understand, right, how long it takes to carve a piece of wood, get it all carved cleanly, clean it all up, prepare it, ink it, and pull it in 10 days. So don't skip over that. Like this. You understand what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying.
I do.
I just skipped over that like it was nothing. That is an enormous amount of work. So you carved it by yourself, right?
Yeah.
See? That's an enormous amount of work. So you skipping over it like it was just nothing.
Yeah. Well, this is what I've been doing. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, ask questions. Don't feel free to interrupt. Yeah.
It's being creational.
Yeah.
But you have to understand that when something's being created, there is no time. You don't really know when you will conceive. The time when you will conceive, the actual in creation, there is no time. That's why it took you so. You think it was fast, but there was no time.
Yeah, I'm not sitting there looking at the clock.
No, we're not looking at the clock.
No, I'm just working.
Right. Exactly. What I'm saying is he skips over the amount of energy, right, that it takes to actually do this. It's not a day's work. It is a painstaking.
Well, people forget that it's hard.
Yes. It's not drawn.
That's why I brought this here.
Yeah.
This is in progress.
Okay. Can you explain to them?
Yeah.
Is that what?
That's Illinois.
Can you explain to them so that they understand what we're talking about?
Yeah. So what I'll do, this whole block is going to be filled. I only got a portion of it done right now. So I did this light purple, like color, pinkish purple color I got on here, just as a fuchsia, just as a quick layout. So I can kind of just work out the composition. And then this is the actual piece that I want. is what I have.
Now tell them what you have to do. In
Everything that you see light gray is what I'm going to carve away.
He has to remove that.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to use tools in the shapes of V's and U's. And I mostly use V's because I'm a person, if you look at my works, I like the line. I like the linear.
So
effect.
everything that you see on here that is white has to be removed from this thing here.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So just look at that and think about how much work that is.
Yeah. And then
All the detail.
the other critical thing about doing that process like that is that everything you see on there was once backwards.
Right.
Because when it's printed,
Upside down and backwards.
it's printed the opposite way.
Mhm.
How much fun is that?
I love it. I love the physicality of it. You know, I love the carving, and we asked a question about the sound of
Yeah, I
it.
love it.
Linoleum is pretty quiet, but it's this. It's that, and I'm removing. And then I'm not a person who. Some artists would do a piece like this and do like a proof. I don't do proofs.
Just
I
go
do
right to it.
rubbings.
Yeah,
I do
okay,
rubbings.
All right.
So I'll just take a piece of paper and take a piece of graphite and I rub it, and I pretty much know I got what I got. And at this stage of the game, my first lino cut was in 1980.
So you pretty much know.
I know.
Yeah, you know.
I already know what I
Or
got.
not.
You know, when I'm carving, I can see it.
Right.
You know, now the other thing I do too, that I'm going to do before I start carving, because when you carve the surface of this block, it's the same color down below it. So I take concentrated watercolor and I rub it over the whole
so you can
surface.
see that.
So I tint the whole block.
Yeah.
So as I'm carving, literally I can see all my progress.
Right.
All right. And if I'm in residency, like I was there's a thing that I would do is I did have a certain amount of time I was trying to get it done. And those things are like challenges to me. And they're fun challenges because I'm like trying to see how big a lino cut I can cut in the shortest amount of time. It's a game to me.
Wow.
So
Crazy.
the biggest piece that I carved in the shortest amount of time, I carved a 36 by 50 inch block
That's crazy.
in 3 days.
That's crazy.
Now, mind you, please know those 3 days were like hardly no sleeping and hardly no
That's
eating.
crazy.
You know, just bathroom runs and water. And my wife's like, "Did you eat?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
good."
Yeah. Yeah.
And music, I gotta have music on. And depending on where I'm at in the block is depending on what kind of music I'm listening to. So when I'm starting off,
interesting.
I typically start off with jazz, you know, because I want jazz with no words.
Mm.
That's how I'll start off with. By the time I get into this piece, I can have anything on, but I want up tempo. It's got to have a beat.
Right.
All right. And there are times I may slow it down if I'm just in a, you know, especially if I'm doing something like a crosshatch cut where it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Then I want something that's going to be in that same kind of rhythm. All right. And I don't want something disruptive. I don't want something that can distract me so I can start singing.
Mm.
But if I got to the end where I'm finishing this piece, you can have anything on and I'm going for it. But I do not want anything slow. I typically switch to my New Orleans music. So I put on something like Trombone Shorty or something like that.
Yeah, cool.
You know, we're getting into it. But anyway, I'm going to pause because I need to finish telling that story.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm at this place, the Segura Art Center. And while I was there for the 10 days, they also lined me up. They had a PBS station come there and they filmed me teaching some group of little kids. So I'm like teaching little kids, and you know, I get around little kids, I turn to little kids. I'm in there singing and dancing with them. I'm doing all this stuff and having a good time with them. And there was this one woman was in the audience. She was one of the chaperones for them. She was just laughing at all my little corny jokes and all this stuff. And she was just on it. You know, she was right when and I started vibing with her. So anyway, I got to the end of the video time, and the interviewer turned to me and said, "Well, you know, you made this piece here. What are you going to title it?" And I said, "Well, I'm tentatively going to call this piece Rosa Sparks. That's what I think I'm going to call it." That woman who was off in the background, who was all happy, she immediately turned and walked off. I saw in the middle of the interview that she was upset, and I started going, you know, I was trying to catch my composure because she distracted me. And I got my composure back. I finished up the interview. We shook hands and so forth. And I beeline to that woman. I got to her, I said, "Hey, you good?" And she's walking, she's pacing, she's flapping her hands. And she said, I woke up this morning and I couldn't get out of bed. She said, but something told me to get out of bed and that I needed to be here. And she said, "You're a reason why I'm supposed to be here. You're here for me." And she said, "You're doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be using my gift as an artist, and I'm supposed to be teaching. I'm supposed to be working with the community. And all that you are doing with these kids is where I'm supposed to be using my gifts, and I have not been using them." And she said, "I see my purpose." And I'm like, "Oh," I say, "Praise God." I'm like, I'm being used.
Yeah.
I know I'm being used this moment. And I thought we got past the tears. She wasn't done. She's still flapping. I'm like, are you good still? I thought we got that out.
Yeah.
I thought she told me, we got your purpose. It's good. We all good.
Yeah.
And then she says, and then you said my name. She's Rosa Sparks.
Yeah. That's her name.
You let me know. What
That's
are
crazy.
the odds of me meeting a Rosa Sparks on this planet? I made the thing up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What are the odds? And that's what she broke off. She started crying. I mean, she's like, you not only was I supposed to be here, but you said my name. You called me. If that ain't God, I don't know what is. And I'm like, I'm in the moment. I'm like, I started crying. She started crying. Everybody's like, what's up with y'all two? I know we argued each other because I was overwhelmed. I said, you got to be kidding me.
Wow.
I said, what? Your name? You know, and this happened to me like twice. Not like the exact name. I had another person's first name came up, but I spoke at this prison in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It was called Hanlon Prison. And the guy walked up to me and said, you put my name in your art piece. Because it was a triptych. He said, the middle piece, he said, that's my life. And then when I told the story to the inmates, he said, no, that third piece is me. He said, you ain't got my name in there. You know, wow. And I've had several people over the years come to me and say, you're here for me. Like, no, you're here for me. I'm like, wow. And so again, I see that through the lens of the art evangelist. You know, that's how I look at my work. I don't know how I'm going to be used, but I always humble myself wherever I go, that I don't, allow myself to let my head swell and grow greater than who I am. I am just another human being who's doing this work. But I know I'm doing work that's much bigger than myself, because as an artist, we have the ability to leave something that has the potential to outlive us.
Yeah.
We have something that's the potential to speak to generations.
Yeah. It's a very intimate relationship that we are blessed to have. I know you'll relate to this is over the years, I've had the privilege of observing people. One of my favorite things to do is be off to the side and be able to watch people interact with the work and just be off to the side. And many times people have, teared up and cried, and because what they've encountered has meant so much to them, it's really met their spiritual needs. And so I feel very privileged to be able to be used in that way. Over the years, I've had, many situations, conversations where people are saying, that's my grandmother right there. Yeah, that's my grandmother. I don't know how you did it, but that's my grandmother. Or things like that. So it's that's a real privilege to do that.
You can wait a couple of years to ask Steve.
Oh, I got a ton of questions for Steve. I got a ton of questions. My first question. I'm so fascinated with the iconography of your work, right? There are a lot of, I don't think I've seen any of you, apart from the smaller stuff, the medium stuff and the large stuff. There's just so much symbolism in the work. As you explained, you layered it over. Here's my question. When do you decide what symbolism is going to work? Is that an organic process as you're sketching? You're like, there's this. Or do you go and research and find different connections?
It's all of the above.
Okay.
And, but most of my work starts off with a thesis.
Okay.
As if I was writing the story. Right. So all my pieces have some centralized thought that everything grows from. That's central.
So you start with a seed and you build from that.
I thought about Rosa Parks as being the spark.
Okay.
And then all those things
you just start building around
from that. Yeah. So I always have a center. And then there are some symbols that I use recurrently.
I noticed that.
That I like. One you'll see over and over again in my work is a checkerboard.
Right.
And a checkerboard is not just a checkerboard. I mean, of course, you may know it's a checkerboard or a chessboard, but it's actually a symbol of the crossroads.
Yeah.
Place of decision. You make the wrong move at the crossroads, you perish. Hopefully you can make the right move and you can continue, the game continues on, So that's one thing. I use a lot of number symbols.
Yes.
Of ones, of threes, of fours, of fives, of 7, of 9, of 12. You see that over and over again. So I count a lot in terms of the work. So it's not, when you see something that, like, for example, up in that piece, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I
Right.
purposely made sure it was 5 stars because the 5 stars is a symbol of the stigmata, okay, or the 5 wounds of Christ. That's what that alludes to. But then if you look right down below it where the stars and stripes are in the background and you drop down to the bottom, what is that? What's that symbol down on the bottom? What shape is that? In the ground, the black and white chest. Start with a P. Pentagon.
Mm.
The Pentagon, of course, is associated with war in our nation. And that piece is about turning our war elements into plowshares. All right. So there's a direct, I'm always directly tying. So you see the implements of war on the left side of the composition, and then they're turned into hoes and shovels. And the woman is digging up the lily, which is a symbol of the Holy Spirit, over to the right, and also associated with the Virgin Mary. So
And symbolism, that's what I'm talking
yeah,
about.
always.
Very rich symbolism that you have. I also noticed that you use birds as a reoccurring theme as well.
Well,
Tell me about like,
the bird is typically I'm using is the dove.
dove, right?
And the dove is a symbol of peace, but the dove is a symbol of the Holy Spirit, which goes to the foundation of my work, which comes out of my New Orleans upbringing in the funerary tradition.
Okay.
The funeral is broken up into 2 parts. The
Right.
first part is called a dirge, and the second part is called a second line. The dirge is the mournful tune that is played for someone that's being laid to rest. And so I liken that I parallel that to all of us experience the dirge. I'm not just talking about death. We Spanish dirge because we all go through hard times and we have to figure out how to make it, make it through it. The second line has to do with both a spiritual and a natural meaning.
Okay. Yeah.
The first line is a life on earth. The second line is the afterlife.
Transition. Yeah.
But the first line has a natural meaning. The first line is the bloodline. The second line is the community that comes out in support of the first line. That's why we send our condolences. That's why we come out. We're the second line. If that's not our family, we say, hey, I know what you're going through. I know what you're feeling, but I'm here for you. And that's why we prepare meals for each other. That's why we do things, because we know that person needs a moment to get themselves back into calibration to be able to recover from that loss. But we also know that the person must move on, because if they don't, they stay in that space of despair, you're gonna perish right along with them. You're not far behind. So we got to keep living for the living. All right. And so that is part of the philosophy of my works, which gets to the other ideas that at funerals and at weddings, you release a dove. At funerals, you release 3, which represents what in the Trinity?
Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Yeah.
The Father, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, which creates the triangle, which is used in my work over and over again. At weddings, you release 1 dove. Why?
The 2 become 1.
The 2 become 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the Black community, it got expensive for them to release the doves. And in typical fashion, we translated handkerchief.
Handkerchief. Yeah.
So when you're seeing people in New Orleans,
Yeah.
dancing with this,
Yeah.
many people in New Orleans don't even know what this means anymore, because it's gotten lost over time. But I'm one of those people that's sharing with us and letting us know the history of why we wave this, because this is a white dove.
Yeah.
It's taking flight because it's animated through our bodies. We are the embodiment of the Holy Spirit in our movement and our animation and so forth. And so when a person moves and they begin to flap like they're flapping like a bird, Patti LaBelle used to do it all the time when she sang.
Yeah.
Because that comes from the church. That is the speaking in tongues. That is speaking to that higher language of God.
Mm-hmm.
But then I had this at our wedding, and I made one that had a representation of both my wife and I on it.
Oh, nice.
Not only did I want them to have a memento of our wedding, but I wanted them to understand the depth of the symbol. And I carry it with me every day because I have the opportunity to share the story exponentially.
Mm-hmm.
All of you heard it. All of you now know. All of you have a responsibility of continuing to pass on the Spirit. And that's what the work is about. What we do as artists, we're depositing a fragment of our spirit, of our energy, of our time, of our study, of our dedication. All those things are embedded within the algorithms of the movement, of the shapes and the forms, the textures, the colors, the stories, the images, whatever it is, and how we push it together. We're just giving you but a facet, and we're passing it on. And that's why it's so easy for me to release my work, is because I know it was made for it. It wasn't made for me.
Yeah.
I already got the fruit from it.
Yeah,
I received the fruit.
I agree. And you know, do you get the feeling that when something is finished, it's like, okay, let's get it. I want to get it on out of here.
That's why I don't put it on the wall like you do.
I don't put,
yeah, because if I put it on the wall, you
why am I?
get stuck with it the same
Why do I
piece.
want to? Yeah, and when you create it, you know it's created for someone else.
Yes.
And the joy is to hear how someone else finds that piece. The joy is Eileen calls and says, "Oh, so and so got it, and this is what they said." I was like,
That's all it's gone. That baby is out. It's gone. Be in the world.
So I never, exactly. I never hang up my piece. If I hang it up, it's only for me to scrutinize it to see what I'm going to do with it. Because I like seeing.
The pieces do teach me some pieces teach me a little something, and I'll get something from it, and it'll spark a new idea.
Right.
That happens a lot with me.
And I sometimes hang my stuff upside down when I'm struggling with it too. I'll hang it upside down.
I don't do that. That's good.
No, I hang it upside down so I could see it differently.
Oh, that's good.
I put it on my I'll hang it upside down, and I'm like, I see where the problem is. Yeah.
But you already do that because
you're spinning it around. You're spinning it around. Yeah. I don't spin.
I have never articulated it as such.
Yeah.
It just happens already.
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah.
And like you said, I do take, because I've been doing this so long, I am, in my expression of it, I'm speaking like it's passe. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. So now here's the other thing that I love about Steve's work is there's also, so that's a lot of work. But what he's not telling you is there's a whole other mastery of getting it onto a press, inking it up properly. And then every press, he'll tell you, every press is almost a being unto itself. No two presses are the same. No two beds are the same.
True.
Right? And so every time that you ink up a piece of work and put it on a new press, there's a learning curve. Now, of course, someone like him, he's got a lot of experience, but there's still a learning curve there. And there's still a mastery of being able to pull a piece cleanly. So, for example, what I mean by clean is, you see how there's no smudges? You see how clean these lines are? That is very, very, very hard to do. And the larger the piece, the harder it is to get clean and even pressure from one side to the other side. He's not telling you that. I know that. He's not telling me that. He just says, "Oh yeah, I pull 10 and no. And here's the other part of it that he's not telling you. This thing degrades the more you pull it. Okay. You should tell him how hard this is. It is very difficult what he does. So after he pulls this once, it is no longer the same because it's going through X amount of pounds of pressure to create this. So now the one thing I do to help keep it from degrading so much, build it up on the bottom. Two things I do. One, I print with a felt. Okay. Yeah.
So
but wait, tell them what that is.
The felt is just like a giant piece of flat felt that I use on it that protects the block and softens the blow of the transfer. The other thing I do is I print wet.
Okay. Yep.
So if you look at my prints, you look at them closely, you'll see that it's like a little embossment in the print. And I love that relief embossment. Some artists don't like it. Some artists want their piece to be flat kissed against it. I'm the opposite. I like when you see the little divots, and when you turn my prints around and see the back.
Yeah, you see
something about I love rubbing my hand on the back of the block so that I can feel that embossment. I love the texture of it.
And the sound pulling it.
Oh yeah, that's always sound. The magic. And there's a crazy thing about pieces that I've pulled, and sometimes I pulled it up and I don't initially like it.
Oh,
there'll be pieces and I'm like, that's okay. And then after, sometimes it may be a week or a couple of weeks, or maybe a show I have it in, and I look at it against it. Dang, I was doing some good thinking there. It's like it hits me. And the reason why is because sometimes I got to try to stop myself from going into it with a certain expectation of what I think it's going to look like.
Yeah.
And it doesn't match that expectation.
Yeah. So
you got to allow yourself to just the freedom, just let it be.
It's such a hard thing what he does, because when he's pulling that, every pull, this thing is being degraded. right? So he knows he can only get so many pulls out of it before we done with it, right? So he's got to make adjustments as he's going along. So you can't pull with the same amount of pressure in the first one as you do number 10. Now he's got to fiddle. He's got to take into consideration what he's done. And he's got to take into consideration this press. So there's a lot of thinking, internal thinking going on, and a lot of questions that he has going on that he has to answer in his head as he's going through this whole process, right? And so he's being very generous and just not.
Well, let me flip the script in this round.
All right.
As we think about your works.
All right.
Let's flip the script.
Okay.
I don't know if everybody understands the amount of skill and hand skill that you have in order to pull those subtle, those beautiful, light, and delicate transitional gradations and keep the level of cleanliness with the piece without the smudging or without the extra marks or the layout pencil marks showing up and all that stuff that can actually happen in terms of the layout of a piece like that. And to keep the balance of it compositionally inside of there. And then to come back and think about adding color into it that would not disrupt away from or become a focal point to take your eyes away from what you wanted that particular piece like there, to keep it central upon that, and to keep and to choose just the right colors and the right amount of breakup of space that you do, whether it be the flower formations or that light blue color, which I think is like a Hank blue. On the porch of many people across the South. That's what it kind of reminds me of.
Yeah.
And in terms of the rendering of that, and to get those subtle gradations, because many times when one's doing that, I always had a question for you about your pieces: are you using a blending stump? No. Are you using a chamois cloth?
No.
Oh, then that brings
wait. I'll tell you what I use. I'm telling you what I use.
A whole nother level.
I'm gonna tell you what I use. I use watercolor brushes. I use makeup brushes to blend with.
Didn't know you did.
I
was curious about.
Never use a blending stump because
never
it's too harsh.
Okay, that's why. Because in the blending stump, if you're not controlling that right, you end up getting that
harsh line. Yeah, and the harsh.
I was wondering how you got the softness.
Yeah, and then
wondering that too.
and then here's the other thing. I use powder. I use charcoal powder and graphite powder.
That's how
I paint with it.
Oh, all right. See, that makes. Because I'm like,
it's a combination. it's a combination of drawing for the dark areas.
Yeah.
That's drawing. Yeah. Right. And then for the really soft, subtle areas,
you're painting those in with the brushes.
I'm painting them in with graphite powder, charcoal powder.
All right. I have been, because I remember, I see why people get confused by your pieces and one of their photographs is because of that aspect.
So that's what makes it soft. That's what brings the subtlety and the softness to it.
Got it.
Is with the brushes.
No, they're absolutely gorgeous.
Sorry, you had a question? Yes, sir. What's your name? Andy. All right. Yeah.
We're just come up with them from the imagination, regardless of whether or not they do. I'm just curious because some of these characters, I'm like, wow. Like, you know how in the media, you don't generally get the most beautiful form of
right.
Very beautiful in this. It's like coming out of you. Or is this like, this is my reference?
A little bit of both. It's a little bit of both. I will take a reference photo and I'll be like, yeah, but I don't like her hair. You know what I mean? I don't like her hair. I'm going to change her hair. Yeah, but I don't like her eyes. I'll change things as I go. Right. So that happens all the time. And so I make things into what I want them to be. There are also times where I will find a model. I'm like, oh, this person is perfect. Let me take a few pictures and I'll use that as well. So it depends.
What percentage of the people you work from are models that you've taken from versus reference images that you've drawn from?
Probably references, probably 75-25.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably 75-25 in terms of.
And what is it about those images that speak to you? You know, what's the depth of it? What happens in you physically, mentally, spiritually?
I have to have an emotional connection to what I'm doing. I cannot draw something just because it's pretty. I have to have an emotional connection to what I'm drawing. So whether that happens with the image itself or whether I'm putting that emotion into it.
Talk to us through that piece that I was just
This
talking
piece, yeah. So this piece for me was I'm doing a series.
about. Mhm.
I'm doing a series on Black women, and I'm exploring beauty and reverence and all that Black women mean to us, right? Our life comes from a Black woman. And so what I love about this is bald. Bald. It is striking. I met a sister last night. Gorgeous, bald. There's something about a woman who, there's a regalness about a woman who can carry her femininity without hair. Right? So I wanted to depict that beauty of a woman with no hair. You can be beautiful in all these different ways inside of our community. And we don't highlight that type of beauty, right?
Yeah.
So that was the spark for doing that. And if you notice, the newest piece that I have, it's the opposite of that. It's the one over there on that table. She has an abundance of hair, right?
Yeah.
And there's beauty in that as well.
Yeah.
Right.
But there's a range.
Exactly. So I'm trying to cover the full range,
spectrum. Yeah.
the full spectrum of how our women present ourselves and how beautiful they are. So that's I've kind of been moving along.
But that's another beautiful parallel that we have between us, because I'm not mentioned to many people, but my thesis work in grad school, it was titled Images of the Invisible Woman, Definitions of Black Womanhood and the Struggle for Equality.
There you go.
So when people see so many women in my work over and over and over again, it goes back to my mom. It goes back to my grandma. It goes back to my two older sisters. It goes back to the amount of aunts that would come over to my house. And I have literally over and over again found myself in female circles my entire life. Yeah. I'm constantly, and I'm completely comfortable in them. And every time I'll be sitting in there, next thing you know, I'm like, yeah, you're the only man in here. Only dude. Yeah, you're only man over and over. My life has been that way. I mean, all my life since I was a little kid, all the way up. And so I'm just like, I just wedded to. I'm like, okay, there's something about me around women that is supposed to happen. So that's why I represent it so heavy in my work, is because not only do I respect their power, their strength, their brilliance, their beauty, I have like a small fetish of like pregnant women.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
I do. I love pregnant women. I do. Yeah. I see a pregnant woman, and my wife, she knows, and I've disclosed it. I laid it out. I said, when I see a pregnant woman, I'm going to be looking.
It's going to be there.
And the thing is, I'm so keen with it too. I can pick up, I can see.
Oh, really?
When a woman, I see the earliest stages, because I understand how the body changes.
Yeah.
And then I'll pick up, and I got enough sense not to say it.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yep. And it's just displaying beauty in all facets, in all generations, like the one up top there, right?
Yeah.
That's about my grandmother and how, in Jamaica, similar in the South, all of the most important conversations happen on the porch. And so in Jamaica, it's like after church, we get our mint tea and you go on the porch and people come by and then they sit and talk. And as a kid, you're just sitting there and you're hearing about your mom, you're hearing about the community and stuff like that. And so that's what that piece is about. Just so showing that range that you can be an integral part. You can be beautiful when you're young, and you're also equally as beautiful and important when you're a grandmother.
Yeah. So
that's constant theme that I'm going over.
And my parallel to that, I just had an exhibition at the Jordan Snitzer Museum at the University of Oregon in Eugene, and the name of my exhibition was called Kitchen Table Talk.
There you go.
So my parallel space was the kitchen table.
So that's where you
so not the porch, because I grew up in the city,
right?
And so in the city, you sit on the porch, you just sitting in the heat,
right? Like
it's just hot.
Yeah.
Or you want to be in some AC and or underneath some fan or something. 100 degrees or 100% humidity. So nonetheless, the kitchen table, and I think about it, if you think about everybody's house has virtually 3 sacred spaces: the kitchen, the bedroom, and the bathroom.
Mhm.
And the one space that we all pretty much can have that's communal is that kitchen.
Mhm.
Now, when we think about the kitchen table, that kitchen table is different from one family to the next, one community to the next. And oftentimes the houses or the kitchen tables become siloed. And so I
Right.
have been operatively trying to break down those walls that separate us. Hence, what I ended up doing when I was in Eugene, I ended up working with 150 students, and I had them all make individualized woodcuts that I cut up like a giant puzzle.
Oh, and
piece.
put them
And I put them all back together.
that's
I made a 4-foot by 24-foot kitchen
of
table.
everything. Wow, that's
And then
crazy.
your prompt was to come in my workshop was I need you to make a representation of who you wanted to bring to the table, whether that person be alive or deceased or you never meet.
Right.
And then you made a representation of that. I put the whole table back together. And then I took it to the next level. I did not put this indoors. I put it outside in front of the museum, and I prayed for a non-rainy day and rainy season in Oregon, which I got.
You got it.
I got it. It was a sunny, beautiful day. I had African drummers come from the east and the west, and they played music. My wife did a choreographed dance through 4 of the
That's
dances,
great.
and they moved around it.
And you
They
created
moved
this
away.
table.
I created a table.
installation.
And then I did a libation prayer, and I poured water out for the ancestors.
Mhm.
And then after I did that, I had 2 companies make bread from different bread traditions,
Oh,
and they processed the bread in and put it on the tables. And I said, "Come to our table, come to this communal
table. Right.
And they all came, and we broke bread together, and we talked, and we had conversation. And I said, this is what we need to do going back into our various communities.
Right.
We need to find more opportunities where we're inviting people to come to the tables,
Absolutely.
which alludes to the biblical story. Y'all familiar with the piece by, I think it's Caravaggio, called Supper at Emmaus?
Okay. Yeah.
Heard of
Mhm.
it? All right, for those who haven't heard of it, it was of a biblical story. Christ is crucified. He's died. He's risen from the dead, and the word is circulating. So it's the 3rd day after. And 2 disciples are walking along the road, and they're heading towards the town of Emmaus.
Mhm.
And as they're walking along the road, they run into the stranger.
Mhm.
And they're talking to him, and they all sad. He said, "Hey, what's up? What's going on?
Why are you so sad? Oh, what do you like? You haven't heard about this? What's Jesus? Another? They run down the whole story.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they make their way to the house.
Yeah.
And when they get into the house, the stranger blesses the bread.
Yeah.
And when he blesses it, that's when God allowed their vision to see who was at the table.
Yeah.
It's Jesus. So that's supper with a stranger.
Mhm.
How many more times can we have that cathartic happening if we allow those people
They
to
implore him. They implore him. He says, "Oh no, I got to go." No, you have to stay with us. You have to stay with us.
come?
Come. He came, and it was Jesus.
Yes.
They didn't know.
And so how many more moments do we have like that we're missing in our interactions because we have allowed those masks or these structures to be built around the other?
Right.
And that, how many times? So I believe artists, we have that ability to
Mhm.
bring people together that may never come together.
Right.
And they're in the same room, they're hearing these stories, and they're like, well, dang, your story is not that different from my story.
Yeah, we sure.
Your experience is not much different from mine. And I thought this one thing about you, and now I see you differently.
Mhm.
And that's that transformation, bless you, that takes
Mhm.
place. So that's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to do with the artwork. And at all times, is trying to create these authentic spaces
Right.
and
Right.
create a happening.
Does anybody else have any questions? Because I can go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to hog.
Yeah, those 2, yes.
I have 3 quick technical questions for you.
Okay.
How do you slide the phone?
This,
Yeah.
this, I'm happy to say, was not pulled by me. This was pulled by,
Yeah, slide it all the way back through.
Curly. Yeah, pulled this from here. It's a Sierragrass. Yeah, and so he pulled it. We agreed on the colors, right? We sent color swabs back and forth, and we figured out because the original looks very different from this, and we purposely wanted to go in a different direction from the original. And I just love the organic nature of printmaking because you can only control it so much.
Yeah.
Right. You have to be willing to let go of control and trust the process and love how it's going to turn out. And so I just love it.
Yeah.
So
What number screen was that to pull the black and white portion?
you'd have to ask him. I don't know.
Going straight, of course.
Pretty coarse.
Mhm.
And I
That little bit of texture.
do
Okay.
too. I like that.
I was thinking that one had to be a pretty fine one.
It is a fine one. Because look at
because in order to get those little tiny little dots,
Yeah.
that's probably like a 330 or something like that.
Something like that. It's
Really
over a 300 for sure.
Yeah,
But it's, you see, it's
The
getting
higher-
all the
higher
subtleties.
the fine,
Yeah, yeah,
because that basically every inch.
Truly just
yeah,
definitely.
yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
Question number 2. Filmmaker.
Yeah.
What's your favorite press?
Ooh.
Brand. Yes. Brand press. Now I just got a brand new Conrad press, which they're like the only presses pretty much left in the United States. I think they brought out Wheeling, I believe. But yeah, I have a brand new Conrad press that I can print a 4 by 5 foot piece, 4 foot by 5 foot piece. In my I have a studio in the museum.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I work at the Muscarella Museum at William and Mary University. So in my studio in the museum, I have a brand new 4 by 6 foot press that I'm getting ready to carve this to print on. This will be the first piece I'm printing on this press. I literally got it 2 weeks ago,
Cool.
and I have I've not run one thing through it yet.
It's my blessings to you.
Yeah, it smells like a brand new car. Every time I walk in the room, I go.
Great. It's great. You haven't even just started to eke it up or nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. Wow.
Nothing's been going on.
Yeah. That's cool.
It is brand
That is
new.
cool.
I put it together on the floor by myself.
Cool.
I mean, because it's 4 feet, like how you can get through the door.
Right.
So
you
they
break
sent
it
it
down.
to all the bottom. I got my coworker to grab the press and we muscled that thing along. We sat up on top of that, bolted that bad boy in. It's ready to go.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. And I use other papers. I use Strathmore. I got different rolls of paper and different rims of paper. I love paper. Like love. I could talk to you about paper for another 3 hours.
One that you
And talk to you about like there's some Japanese handmade paper. Oh, just you have families that are making this paper. They've been making this paper for 4 generations. Handmade paper. Anyway. So primarily I use those papers because I know what I'm getting. I'm getting a consistent grade. The tooth is exactly what I want. And so what's good about those companies is they're pretty consistent from ream to ream and from year to year. I know what I'm getting. So that's the reason why I do that.
I had another question about your work, especially when you got the smaller piece. Are you working with any magnifications?
Well, that's all me and the glasses.
Okay. Yeah.
It's just me, yeah. So I find the challenge, a real challenge in being able to get the same amount of detail in a small little piece as you get it.
That's why I asked you that question, because I'm seeing those smaller pieces. I'm still seeing that same level of detail working.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you was putting the magnifier over that you can see some of that. Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So as long as the Lord keeps my eyesight, I'm gonna keep doing it.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Shut down to just shifting back. I
Right.
shoot your work. Oh, think both up spiritually and. I mean, when you think about where the direction it's going now, like everything that happens to live, I mean, that influence your work going forward.
It's actually a question. I mean, I'm a person. I'm very sensitive to the moment that I'm always in. But I also know that I understand. That's why I went to that armor of God concept. Is that somebody was just talking to me about issues that are going on politically, and I said, a lot of the political stuff that we have going on is distractions, and it's set for that,
and it's nothing new.
Yeah, and it's nothing new. Everything is cyclical, and so with everything being a distraction, then I know that there's something at the heart driving everything around us. So that's why I'm trying to do work that goes to the spirit, and that's what I'm searching for. And then so the work becomes, in essence, it becomes timeless, but it keeps reminding this generation right now what we must be doing, what the previous generation had to go through. We're going through it too. We're no different from them, and so we can look at it and say, "Oh, people say, oh, it's the worst political." I said, "No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not. No, it's not. It can get far worse than what we're going through right now.
It's true.
It's
Have that up.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, that's no matter how harsh the image is that I'm dealing with and I'm sharing with you, I believe in hope. I have hope.
Absolutely.
There's no hopelessness. I only have a faith in him because I have, no, hope springs eternal.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what
I work from that. We don't have faith, hope, and love. We're not here.
Nah. No,
Not
the second I give up that's the second I've stopped being an artist because I don't care.
Here's what I'm curious about. Besides this, what are you working on right now? What do you got going on?
I'm working on a sculpture for the city of Williamsburg. That's in honor of about 50 different African Americans that were unsung within that community. So it's going to be, if you can imagine in your mind's eye, a house structure. And the reason why I went to the house structure is because when you walk around Colonial Williamsburg, we got to think about the history in terms of what's impacted that city. Colonial Williamsburg, of course, is the city that was first and foremost taken away from the native people. And once it was taken from the native people, the land in which it's sitting on is where the capital of Virginia used to be in Williamsburg before it was transmuted up to Richmond. That same area, right, Colonial Williamsburg, which is by William Mary, which is the second oldest university in the United States at the Harvard University, that was once Black-owned land around it. And systematically, they forced them off of that land. One of the people who was instrumental in that was Rockefeller, was instrumental in changing that. And then a lot of those people forced off of that land, and then they turned a good portion of that into like this replicas of the old country and so forth, and got people walking around in cosplay. You'd be standing in the grocery store, smiling on a cell phone, but they're looking 1600 clothes, whatever. So those things are there. And so I got called by First Baptist, which is one of the oldest African-American churches in the nation, in Williamsburg, to design a piece that would go in Bicentennial Park that once upon a time had a Confederate statue that was taken down during the pandemic. So when I went walking around and trying to get inspiration about how I was going to do this piece, I walked around the town and I started looking at the buildings. And the one thing that you don't see and that we know is that Black bodies cooked the food, washed the clothes, built the buildings. But there is no statues, no markers to call upon the Herculean job that they did to do all this work. Where is the labor? Where are the statues? There's a statue of Jefferson sitting on Dog Street or Duke of Gloucester Street, but there's no statues of Black people, nowhere in the community. So I said, I want to make sure that not only do I make a sculpture that represents the Black body, I don't want it to just be this abstract piece that we can just engage there and to think about this being, I say, we need to physically be there. You need to see our body. So I'm going to make this house made up of bodies, literally. And then one wall will be made up of, in relief, it'll be the back wall. If you can think of a house that has two ends and two flat sides, think of one end being the entrance to the front door. That's the only side that's going to look like a house that's going to be made of steel. And particular steel I'm going to use is going to be Corten steel.
Okay.
If you don't know what Corten steel is, it's a steel that naturally rusts into this reddish brown color. The one wall coming on this side, so we got the front of the house, this wall here is going to be a cut filigree. It's going to have a quote coming from King. Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can. Hate can't drive out hate, only love can. Imagine if you had that cut out of a whole wall, you can see through the letters, but the words are still held together. And that's going to be one wall. When you get to the back of the house, I'm going to have a series of African Americans' bodies working together, not in a posture of servitude, but a posture of support. And I'm going to have different representations of us, like a dense pack, all in that back wall. When you get to the other big, long, flat wall that's parallel to the wall of text, that wall is going to have the 50 different African Americans in low relief. Low relief is just like a coin. But it's going to be a little bit higher than that. Cool. Maybe like a coin. So you can literally go up there and touch, rub the figures that be lifted off the surface. Then one roof on the side where all those 50 people, I'm going around the community to as many of the descendants of those 50, and I'm going to take plaster masks off of their faces. And I'm going to take waxes out.
They're going to be the shingles.
They're going to be the shingles of the roof.
Cool.
And I'm going to put them on the roof, but I'm going to do them in aluminum. Okay. So that back wall, the front wall, the back wall, this is Corten steel. This is stainless steel mirror finish. This wall is bronze and this wall is bronze. So two L-shaped walls of bronze. The roof is going to be made of aluminum. And then on the inside of the structure, I got a friend of mine who's a jazz musician by the name of Hannibal Okumbe. And he looks like this. This is a silver point drawing I did, done with real silver onto this paper that I made. We start talking paper, we go all day. We could go all day. Had a couple more hours. So this is a silver point drawing that I created.
Let's explain what silver point is to them.
Absolutely.
People don't know. So silver point, you actually draw with a little piece of silver. Can you have your mechanical pencil? So we have mechanical pencils, and we can draw little pieces of silver, and we prepare the paper especially for that.
Mm-hmm.
And what's cool about drawing in it with silver is this will oxidize over time.
And it's starting to oxidize. It's starting to turn slightly brown.
Right. And it'll brown, it'll get this nice, rich brown, silvery kind of color. It's really cool. And yeah.
And it's made up of rabbit skin glue and zinc oxide. So the two things mixed together. And then you cook them in a double boiler. You can't let it get over 140 degrees. If you do, you tarnish and it'll make it brittle.
Yeah.
And then so you paint this on here in several coats, and then you take really, really, really fine sandpaper, like 900 grits, and you softly burnish the surface. So this paper, the surface, you can see how shiny it is, because that's real silver.
Yeah,
that I drew it. But Hannibal Akumbe gave me a blues chord, and I'm having giant wind chimes inside of the structure. I want the chimes like this big, so when you hear the wind blowing, it's going to be. I want ting ting. I want poof, boom, 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 boom. Inside of the structure.
And then reverberate inside of that structure as well.
Yes, that's what I want.
Yeah.
And then the top of it, I'm gonna put a weather vane. The weather vane will be no weather vane that you've probably seen. It's gonna be a Sankofa weather vane on top of the structure. And I'm gonna cast that in bronze on top of it. And I don't stop. The ground that this sculpture is gonna rest upon is gonna be a giant circle with a plus on the end. We know what that symbol is. That's a female symbol because the name of this piece is called Fertile Ground. And that's where we all come from, and that's where we all shall return. And then the newest idea that I came up later, after I presented this to the Arts Council down in Williamsburg, I came up with the newest idea is that I want to have an edible garden out around the entire space. And I want different groups in the community to step up and to maintain that garden. But I also want to begin to have a conversation about the foodways that are within our community. Those people who have to shop in Dollar Tree to get their dinner, and those who are going to McDonald's to have their meals. We got to change the diet in our community. We got to talk about that.
You should break up the space and symbols as far as the that space that you're going to have inside of where they're going to plant their garden. That should
even those spaces.
Yes, even those places. You should use that opportunity to use that as symbolic space. So the garden is symbolic of actually doing something in that space, and the actual space within it is a symbol as well.
Yeah, I love that. So that's what I want to do. Then I want to have people to be able to come there and to be able to educate us about the different foods that are about the fresh vegetables. And that's where we're at in this moment. I mean, we have it all over the country. If you're a person that's on Instagram and so forth, they got all these different people. They got these gardens that are, that migration that went from the south that went north is gone from the north back south. People are reconnecting with their family's roots. My mom, that's what she grew up on. So I'm one generation removed from a person who lived 100% off of the land. My mom didn't go to no store. The store was her yard. They had chickens, they had cows, they had all the vegetables were made in her garden on the land. The closest house was a mile away from my grandmother's house. And that's where we went every summer. It was a culture shock for me because I grew up in the city and we go to the country, no TV. My play was to figure out what I'm going to do around this big giant field and messing with the cows and trying to get bulls right after me and see if they really are attracted to red. I was doing all that stuff. My grandmother taught me how to kill a chicken. I put that little thing up on there. I went to cut the head. I hit 3/4 of it, jumped out of my hand, and it ran around his head cut off.
Catching a chicken ain't no joke.
No, that's what she laughing at me in the yard.
Yeah, I remember catching a chicken.
And watching me run behind that
experiences. Catching a chicken is no joke.
That's not that long ago.
No.
That's the thing I want to make sure we continue on those kind of traditions and ways in which we can keep each other alive. Yes. Oh, it's going to be like from that grate right there to that window. That's about how long the house will be, roughly in that scale, and up to 14 feet. The width is probably as wide as both of those two windows right there.
Oh, wow. So it's significant.
Yeah. So it's going to be a house. And reason, again, when you go through there, you just see this space and people walk around in costumes. But I'm like, I want to show you the people who made it. They are the house. We are the house. We are the community. We built the house. We are the house. We are what we built. And we are the manifestations of those dreams. We're the manifestations of all the damage and stuff that we went through. We're still here. And that's what I want to showcase.
Do you have a timeline for this?
I can get the piece. I gave them a timeline of a year. They're fundraising. They finished up the fundraising. But I just had a meeting just recently, a couple of weeks ago, about it and so forth. So we're getting closer to my start date. So hopefully by early fall, I'll get started. So I got everything staged out. I actually have a team of people working with me on it. So I have a landscape architect that's working on the landscape portion to deal with that. I have a person who I'm hiring as my project manager. I already have an agent, so she's going to be covering, keep track on the budget. I got 2 other sculptors who are going to help me to do the sculptural work. Of course, I'm gonna get them to do a lot of roughing in so I can pick up my pace. But as far as the detail of it, I'm going to be handling all that because I want to have one voice. I don't want to be 3 of us working and it's got your voice. I don't want to. I'm going to give them specific details. I need you to do Bob. And if they can't do, I already know they're going to do it because I've done work with them before. I need you to just build this figure in here and build it out. This is how I want it. And I'll come back and I'll manipulate it so it has my hand on it.
And how do we like this?
Oh, absolutely. Well, Eileen's going to have it because I'm going to have y'all come like a caravan to this thing.
Yeah, that'd be
I'm
great.
serious. And when we do it, my wife is already set. She's already on. She's going to have a whole choreographed dance piece go with it. It's going to be a celebration. And we're going to literally break bread at this sculpture.
That's going to be
literally, in every way, bread spiritually, physically, all that's going to be happening. So it's going to be, this is the kind of piece that I know that it's just, it's a game changer for me as an artist. And so when I go to talk to youth and I talk to them about the honesty of myself, they can receive it because they're going through the same thing. And I'm going to say, you're going to be all right. Love yourself. You're beautiful. You're smart. You're brilliant. And we're supposed to be saying your imagination is your only limitation to the next generation. That's why I put on every syllable.
cool. Any other questions for anybody?
Well, it's one question, one statement. First, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I think, people come because they respect art, they love it. But when they come and they hear you speak, this is who you are. You get so much more, and you get so much from having a conversation with you guys that, I think that's my tip.
Thank you.
The other thing is,
Thank you.
I'm like, because Eileen knows you can let me fully. I want to reiterate something that we talked about earlier.
Okay.
Collaboration and utility.
We're going to do it. We're going to figure it out. Yeah.
In public,
No, I'm going to say it publicly. We've already agreed that we're going to figure something out.
yeah, but wait.
You're holding us to it.
It's gonna happen.
No. It is a great idea.
It's a great idea.
It's a great idea.
And it's very the work that he does is it can easily facilitate what I do, and vice versa. So I think with very little extra effort on both our parts in terms of what we're good at doing, we could easily accommodate that.
Well, and it's funny because when I got ready to hang the show, and I just randomly picked pieces to frame. I'm like, oh, I really like this piece. When I got ready to hang it, I'm like, all right, I have the softness of Michael's work with all the hard edges of your work.
Yeah.
How do I get this to flow? And when I started looking at it, I'm like, well, look at that shape, and that shape translates here, and this shadow goes here, and this goes over here, and that's how I finally hung the show.
Yeah.
So I know you're busy, but when you get around to it,
Yeah.
I'm always here waiting. I'll let you go first, and I'll.
It's already done. It's done. It's a done deal.
Thank you all. If there's not anybody that's not on the mailing list who would like to be, I'll give you part of the deal.
Thank you, everybody.
Glad to see you.